Hello, everybody. This is meteorologist Andrew Pinero, and thank you for joining me on this next Full Throttle Thursday. All right, so this Full Throttle Thursday, it's already the first week of December, so we're going to talk a little bit about monthly maintenance. Now, you may have remembered I was doing monthly maintenance videos with Full Throttle Thursday when I had the WRX, and now I decided to do a monthly maintenance video with the Tesla. This is not really going to be one of the only ones because there's really not much monthly maintenance with a Tesla or electric cars in general. So on this episode, we're going to talk about maintenance in general with Teslas or electric cars. Well, electric cars in general, but specifically the Tesla because I have a Tesla Model 3 right here behind me. So let's jump right into the list here for some maintenance things that I check for, maybe monthly, maybe not so often, but let's talk about Tesla maintenance today. All right, so for the more usual maintenance with the Teslas, there's really only two things. Windshield wash, tire pressure. That's it. That's literally it for monthly maintenance. There are other systems in there that do require maintenance, but it's not regularly scheduled maintenance. And Tesla actually talks about some of these other maintenance items by saying something like maintain as needed. It's not like a regular schedule. For instance, oil change. Here, if you remember the WRX, I was trying this oil, which I still have this little bit left. This was AMSOIL, 100% synthetic motor oil. This was actually the best motor oil I have ever tried. So I'll get a little close up there. If you guys remember this, this was my favorite oil because it actually protected it much better than I thought. Just before I traded it in, I checked the oil, even though it wasn't that long before that I did the oil change. But also in terms of smoothness, it just had a different sound to it. So for motor oil, this stuff is really good, especially if you have a turbocharged engine. So you definitely want to check that out, even though it's a little bit on the more expensive side. All right, so back to Teslas. The only two regular things you really have to check is tire pressure and the windshield wash. And that's it. That's mind-boggling to me. That the only regular maintenance is just refilling your windshield wash and keeping your tires up to pressure. Also, the Tesla will actually have a digital readout on the touchscreen of the tire pressure. So if you can always check it there, but I do have a little gauge that I always like to keep. And this gauge, basically you just press it into the valve and it gives you the tire pressure. So we'll be checking the tire pressure up first. So let's take a look together. All right, so let's start the monthly maintenance with the tires. So now with the tires, you really only have to check or maintain the tire pressure. Now they're just standard tires. Tires are tires. No matter whether you have an electric car, a gas car, a diesel, airplane, you always have to check the tread and you have to check the tire pressure. So in terms of tire pressure, I have a little gauge here. So just like normal, any other car, take the cap off the stem and I am going to check. So we are at about 40, maybe 40 and a half PSI. Now this car does need 42 PSI it says, so we're a couple PSI under right now. All right, that is all inflated now to proper spec. And with that, that's really it for the tire part. Just check the tread. Remember the penny test. Flip a penny upside down, stick it in the tread. If you can see the top of Lincoln's head, then you have too little tread. And you need to get your tires changed. Now, when I got the Tesla, we actually checked. One of my friends that has a Tesla came with me, and we checked the tires to make sure they were in spec. And my wife, Meg, with all of the stuff that she's done, she had what are called calipers, which are actually able to detect or like measure how many millimeters of something there are. So I was able to measure the millimeters of tread on these tires, and they were definitely within spec. So that's all that was needed there. Keep an eye on the tread, keep an eye on the tire inflation, and that's all you need to know for the tires. Now let's move on to the windshield wash. Hello. So, the electric cars don't have an engine, so the front here is called a frunk. There's just storage space up here. So there's a couple of ways to get into the frunk. One of them is inside the car through the touchscreen. There's a picture of the whole car. You just tap on the frunk, it'll pop open. Or I'll show you here on the phone inside of the Tesla app. So in here, I'll show you. It's showing a charge complete because it's plugged in, it's been charging. But what I'm going to look for is this button right here. I'm going to tap that. It's going to confirm, are you sure you want to open this? And hit open. The frunk pops open now. And once the frunk actually pops open, just lift it on up. Nothing. All storage space in here. That's what's neat with the Teslas here. But there is one thing I want to show you. And what I want to show you is right here. This is the one thing, the one fluid you really have to worry about. Windshield wash. So inside here, I'm just going to grab a funnel and the windshield wash. And this is, like I mentioned before, the only fluid you really have to worry about. There's no oil. I mean, there is oil, and there actually is an oil filter. But you don't have to worry about it because it's closed, and there's no explosions happening like with a combustion engine. So we're just going to pour that in there. All right, that is filled. And that is the only one and only fluid you have to worry about. Make sure nothing gets dripped on in there. Close that back up. And that's it. Now there's a couple other things I do want to show you in the frunk. So let's take a look at that now. All right, so also in the frunk here, besides the windshield wash, is this panel right over here. And this is called the service panel. So this just pops right open. Now there's really not much you want to be touching inside here because the Tesla, it's high voltage. This can output, I believe, like 480 volts, 300 amps, or that's at least what the superchargers are. So you don't want to touch anything in here you're not supposed to. The one thing you can do is in here. This is the air duct for the cabin air. So inside here, there's leaves that are in there. So you can reach in, pull those leaves out, because a leaf can get through that vent inside there sometimes. There was 2 leaves in there that I pulled out already, but this is really the only thing you're going to be looking at for service in terms of under the service panel. Everything else in here should really be done by somebody who knows what they're doing. So there's a battery in here. There's a main battery under the car, but there's also a 12-volt like car battery that's in there. There's the master cylinder and the brake booster that's over there. But you don't really have to worry about that because in terms of brakes, you really don't use the brakes because it has regen braking, which is like a magnet. Magnets slow the car down. So the brakes aren't really used. So that is something that will be a maintenance item eventually, but you don't have to really worry about that. And there's actually brake fluid testers that test the amount of water that's inside the brake fluid. So with that, you don't have to really worry. Just keep checking that regularly. Make sure there's no excess water in the brake fluid. At the time that you do discover that, then that's when you want to get that serviced. Otherwise, that's really it under here. And your car, the Tesla, will let you know if there's anything else under here. that need servicing, such as that 12-volt battery, that like car battery. If that needs a service, the touchscreen will let you know, and you can schedule that through the app. So that's really it for under here. So now let's move on. One other quick side note before we close the frunk here. There was a squeak that I noticed as I was pulling this down. So another maintenance thing I'm going to tackle right now is just giving a little WD-40 inside here and inside all the little joints there. So that squeak will disappear. One other thing I forgot to mention just before we head to the wrap up of the video, of course, you want to wash the car. Now, depending on who you ask about washing Teslas, the paint is a question mark, because the earlier on Model 3s, like the 2017, 2018, 2019s, the paint wasn't as durable, so it would chip and peel very easily. The 2020 actually has a better quality paint, so I have taken mine through an automatic car wash. And in the touchscreen, there is an option for car wash mode. Car wash mode could be stationary if you're washing it by hand, or a rolling automatic car wash. They say, or every one of my friends that have said, that have had Teslas, they said, don't take it through an automatic car wash. I have. It's been totally fine. All I can really report on is my experience. So in terms of automatic car washes, I say it's okay. Just maybe try and prefer hand washing. But right now, it is December. It's getting cold here in the Northeast. I don't want to spend hours outside wet in 20 or 30 to 40 degree weather. So I'm going to be sticking with the automatic car washes for the winter months, but then all the rest of the year I'm going to really try and just do it by hand, and it's also fun too. All right, so now let's head to the wrap up. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the main maintenances with the Tesla, and I'm just shocked that it's surprisingly little. So that's that wraps up this video. And there's not going to be a regular like monthly maintenance video like this, just because there really isn't monthly maintenance with the Tesla. But any maintenance things that I noticed, because you're joining me along this journey with electric cars in general. So if I find any other odd maintenance thing that might come up, I'll definitely film it for you guys out there. All right, so that wraps up this video on the monthly maintenance with a Tesla. And there are as I mentioned, regular maintenance things that I'll talk about as they come up. But yeah, that wraps up this video. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching. This is meteorologist Andrew Pinero. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video.